Hello once again, witchy people. Welcome back to my Cobhamstead and the craft room, and another episode of Eye of Newt, Wing of Bat, Wool of Bat. Can't even remember myself, it's been so long. Anyway, so today it's birds, and this I think I explained before, it sent me down a complete rabbit hole because I could remember things and then I remembered other things, and I had to double check things up on the internet because there's so much weird information, sort of like check up all my folklore books and everything. Anyway, I go off the point. So I'm going to start off with my glasses on, because if I take my glasses off I can't read my notes. I have to keep my glasses on. So we're going to start off with turkeys. I know, good, huh? So a turkey can be represented by the butterbur. I will try and give you Latin names this time. However, I'm probably going to get most of them wrong and pronounce them really badly. So Petacites hybridus. That could be hybridus, and I spelt it wrong. But it's the butterbur, also known as the umbrella leaf, water docken, and bog rhubarb because of its huge leaves. But that's the turkey. You can also pick Arcticum lapa, which is the greater burdock, or beggar's buttons. Now, turkey eggs is the snake's head fritillary, which is a beautiful plant. I just, and I don't know what turkey's eggs look like, so it may look like a turkey's egg, but that is also known as the drooping tulip, or the checkered daffodil, or the leper lily, unfortunately. So, and here's where everything starts getting confusing. The snake's head fritillary can also represent a guinea fowl or a guinea hen because of the colour. Now, if it's a normal hens, like hens and cocks and hens and chickens and stuff, the plant you would use is Geum rivale, which is water avens or purple avens. Now, I was going to start off with bird's eyes, but there is a lot. So all I'm going to say for bird's eyes, and this is generally bird's eyes, is it's represented by any small, dainty flower, usually purple or white, but occasionally red or pinky purple. And I think it depends on where you are, your location, your area, and, local folklore, really, on what plants represent what. I mean, quite a popular one is forget-me-not. So, if we're talking not hen's eggs, but any eggs, now we've done eyes, because I could list a whole list, and there's about 50 of them that can represent a bird's eye. And, you may not have some of those growing in your country or in your location. So definitely any flower that's small and dainty and usually white, like I say, usually white or blue, occasionally red or pink. So bird's eggs. Bird's eggs are usually represented by berries or haws. Now, berries, gooseberries is one very good one. But usually it depends on the colour of the bird, or the bird's plumage, or the colour of what the egg is supposed to be, and you can sort of like pick a berry to represent an egg. One of the most popular is Cuculus bacifer or bacifer. It's known as the berry-bearing campion, or berry-bearing chickweed. It's also known as the berry-bearing catchfly. Try saying berry-bearing that often. So, you could also use another member of the same family of plants, which is Silene bacifer,
which we used to call the devil's grapes or the devil's tomatoes. Now I'd like to go on to birds' nests. Now, okay, yes, you could probably find a bird's nest somewhere, but would it be fair to move it? No, probably not. So, to represent a bird's nest or a nesting bird, you use wild carrot, which is Duarcus carota. I think in North America, and even here we call it Queen Anne's lace, sometimes bishop's lace. You can also use a plant. We used to call it bird in the bush, earth smoke, which I think is a gorgeous name, which you can use to represent the bird in its nest or the bird in a bush, a bird in a nest. The Latin for that is Fumaria officinalis. We always used to call it common fumitory or the drug fumitory. Now we're going on to wings and feathers. Now feathers, obviously you could use found feathers. That's the easiest way. But sometimes you don't find feathers, I guess. So anyway, to represent feathers, you could have Argentina and Serena, which is the silver cinquefoil. For wings, it's any leaf or flower that looks like a wing. So for instance, if I wanted to use a sparrow wing or a wren's wing, something that was brown, a brown bird, I would use an autumn leaf. Now going back to feathers, funnily enough, the silver cinquefoil can also represent the feet of either a swan, a goose, or a duck. So it's just quite annoying. If you want to represent a white feather, some people say an angel's feather, you use Clematis vitalba, which is the wild clematis. It's ever such a pretty little flower, and you actually use the flower of it if you can, and it's also known as traveller's joy. Okay, so as you see, this is where it starts getting a bit, like I said, with the silver cinquefoil, also known as silverweed, by the way. It can represent a feather, or it can represent a foot of a webbed foot of so water like swans, goose, and duck feet. So the bird's foot trefoil, that's talking about feet slightly, which is Lotus corniculatus. Now that can be used as any bird's foot, or claw, or talon, or beak, or wing. So it's a dual plant. If you want to use birds in magic potions, bits of birds, the bird's foot trefoil can be used for an awful lot. Now, if you want to use a dove's foot, represent a dove, you use Geranium molle, which is also known as the culver root or starlight. And it's also known as crane's bill. But it represents a dove's foot and also a crane's bill. Oh dear, it does get worse. Now, if you want to represent a crow's foot, it's Ranunculus repens, which is also known as, we used to call it sit fast because it creeps along the floor. It's the creeping buttercup. Now, if you want a white crow's foot, you use Ranunculus aquilitis, which is like a water buttercup, and it's a very pale one. Now for the crow's foot, but also a whole crow or a whole goose, you can have the Orchis mascula. That's the early purple orchid. Now there is another plant you can use to represent crows, ravens, that sort of thing, and it's another orchid. It's the Orchis morio, but don't, because it's becoming increasingly rare. So, and that's the other thing about any of these plants. If do check up, because if they're quite rare in your vicinity, you don't want to go picking them. So crows, crowsfits, doves. How about robins? One of my favourite birds. Robins. Now, a robin, rather easily, is represented by the plant ragged robin, which is Lycoris oculi, I think. It can also represent the Jenny Wren and bird's eyes. Red bird's eyes, also dead bird's eyes. Just to be difficult. If it's the song of a robin, sometimes just a bird song, you represent the song of a bird. But bird song, robin's song specifically, is the Scotch or Scottish rose, and that's Rosa spirosissima. Okay, so to represent bird's tongue or tongues, you can use a scarlet pimpernel. It can also represent birds' eyes, and that is Anagalis arvensis. So yeah, you can use it to represent birds' eyes, birds' tongues. Also, to represent birds' tongues, any bird's tongue, you can use the oval leaf knotweed or common knotweed, not Japanese knotweed. We used to call it doorweed, wireweed. It's a common knotweed, which is Polygonaran nostrum. Okay, so we did the crane's bills for beaks and bills, but most geraniums can be used to represent beaks or bills, but you could also use Herb Robert, Geranium robertanum, get it the right way around, and also a plant that we call shepherd's needle, but I don't know what the Latin is for that. So we've done crowsfoot, we've done call of a robin. How about the call of a cuckoo? Now, the call of a cuckoo, the cuckoo's call is Cardamine pratensis. Now, pratensis is actually Latin for meadow. So it's the mayflower, or the lady's smock. Or we used to call them milkmaids. Now, if you want to, we've done quite a bit on doves. Doves seem to appear quite a lot. Now, if you want a murdered dove, which is quite sad, really, you use wolfsbane or monkshood. Now, if you're going to a crow or a raven, or a crow or a raven's wing, or a crow or a raven's leg or foot can also be represented by wolfsbane. Well, monkshood, because it's the purple. It's the Aconitum napellus. So that can represent, we used to call it dove in caskets, murdered doves. Some people call it dove in the ark because it sounds nicer, because the centre is a polar colour. But yeah, so that can represent a crow, a raven, a murdered dove. Oh dear. See, everything goes off on a tangent. It's all so weird. I think it can also represent a turkey leg, crow's leg, raven's leg, anything like that. A dove's foot, if you want to do a dove's foot or a dove's claw, it's geranium mollo, which is culver root, also known as starlight. Now, funnily enough, the orcus mascula, which can represent the raven or the crow or the also a dead dove, but usually that's just monkshood, can also represent a goose. But if it's a laying goose or a dead goose, it's purple foxglove, which is digitalis. You could also use Vicia craca, which is tufted vetch, for a goose. So as you see, lots and lots. Now, if you're going for an owl's quite a good one. If you're going for an owl's head, it's Philago germanica, which is we used to call it cotton rose, common cudweed. I think it's cudweed, but we used to call it cotton rose. Oh yeah, did I mention doves? If you wanted to represent a dove, you can also use white aconite, aconite alba. If you want to use the not a hen's peck, a crow's peck, you can use crow pickle, which is Ranunculus bulbosus, or Ranunculus Viceari. Now the Ranunculus is a buttercup. The Ranunculus Vicaria, I don't know what it is, Vicari. Anyway, it's the lesser celandine, also known as pilewort. So another one, actually, whilst I remember, that you can use for the bill of a bird are any, if using beaks or bills, it can be any thorn. Whether that be a rose thorn, a blackberry thorn, anything like that. But Rubus pelicatus, which is the blackberry, is specifically used for any kind of hawk's bill. Or you can use hawksbill, the flower hawksbill. Yeah, so there is an awful lot that you can pick for bits of birds, which, let's face it, is much nicer than killing birds. Anything's nicer than killing birds. You don't want to kill a bird. Ever, ever, ever. I'm trying to think what else. I'm sure there's something else. Doves. That's it. The other one you can use to represent a dove is Aquilegia vulgaris, which is common columbine. Aquilegia is one of my favourite plants. I love Aquilegias. Yeah. What else can you use to represent a small raven, baby crow, or a blackbird? You can also use campanula. And the name's gone completely. We used to call them bats in the belfry as well. That was another one. So yes, that's basically it. I've got to get this in that book yet. This book here. All of this information has to be sorted out somehow and put in that book. I may remake this because it's obviously a lot of information sort of scattered all over the place. So I think that's it. I think I've got everything in. Did I do dead or blooded owl's eyes? That's Scarlet Pimpernel. That's the same as bird tongue, or can represent a bird tongue, or also some bird's eyes. Also, if you want to represent pigeon's eyes, it's any small red flower or very small red berry, because pigeon's eyes they can be red. Yeah, so I think that's it. Crow's eyes. Crow's eyes, I didn't do that, did I? Crow's eyes are represented by the crowberry, common crowberry. I don't know what the Latin name for that is either. But yeah, the small blackberry. It's also known as the berry. Oh, please, not another berry bearing one. All I know is it's the crowberry. I don't know Latin names for everything, and when I do find them out, I'm quite often either write them down wrong or say them wrong. Anyway, that's it. Thank you for listening to my rambling. Gosh, that was difficult. I will be back again soon. Hopefully, nothing is going to be as difficult as birds again. Thank you for watching, witchy people. I'll be back very soon. Bye for now.